Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something really fundamental in English. The present simple and the present continuous verb tenses. Our source material is actually excerpts from an English language learning video lesson.
That's right. And whether you're, maybe brushing up for work or trying to finally get these two sorted out.
Yeah, they can be trippy.
They really can. Or maybe you're just curious about language.
Mm-hmm.
We've basically pulled out the key stuff from this lesson.
Okay.
The idea is not just to list rules, but to kind of explore the logic behind them, why we use them and how they change the meaning.
Makes sense. So let's unpack this then, starting right at the beginning, level 1 in the lesson.
Okay.
This part throws down a challenge straight away.
Mm-hmm.
Fill in the blanks, basically. Complete sentences with the right present simple or present continuous form of a verb they give you.
Right. And it might seem basic, but this is, well, it's the foundation.
Exactly.
You've got to get the actual forms right first, like remembering that things for he, she is in the present simple.
Oh yeah, the third person is. Always catches someone out.
Always. And then for the present continuous, it's getting that be verb, right? Am, is, are, and then adding ing to the main verb. Seems small, but it's crucial.
And it's not just the positive sentences either, is it? It's also about negatives and questions for both tenses. It's like how you live here flips to you don't live here or do you live here, which is totally different from you are living here becoming you aren't living here or are you living here?
Exactly, that structure difference. It's so easy to mix those up.
Yeah.
And the lesson makes a really good point here. Even, pretty advanced speakers can slip up on this stuff.
Right.
Yeah. It's easy for mistakes to kind of fossilize if you're not careful. So practicing these basics, getting them solid, it's just so important. It underpins everything else.
Okay, so foundations first, then level 2. This seems to be where we get into what they actually mean.
Yes, exactly. Now the task shifts a bit. It's about choosing the right form within a sentence based on the context. This is where the meaning differences start to become really clear.
Right. So what are the core differences the lesson highlights?
Well, the big ones are present simple for your habits, your routines, things you do regularly.
Okay.
The example given was something like he reads the newspaper every day. Sure. It's just part of his routine.
Got it. A regular thing.
Then present continuous is for things happening, like right now, as we're speaking.
Like we are recording this deep dive. Exactly. Perfect example. The action's happening now, but it's also a bit broader than just this exact second.
Ah, okay. How so?
Well, it covers actions that are in progress, but maybe not happening at this precise moment. They're unfinished actions within the current period.
Right.
The example from the source was good. She is studying for her exams. She might be having coffee right now, but the studying is ongoing this week or month.
I see. So it's an in-progress kind of feeling. Exactly. And then back to the present. Simple for, facts. General truths.
Like science stuff?
Yeah, like water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. It's just true, always. Not dependent on right now.
Okay.
Oh, and one more use for the continuous. Describing what's happening in a picture or a photo.
Ah, right, because you're describing that frozen moment.
Precisely. In this photo, the children are playing.
Yeah.
It captures that specific activity shown. So, yeah, getting these basic distinctions down is key for just everyday chat.
Definitely. Okay, that leads us into level 3, which sounds like it ups the difficulty again.
It does, yeah.
Here the challenge is spotting correct sentences and actually fixing the wrong ones. This must be where those tricky rules and exceptions come in.
This is where it gets really interesting, I think. We start digging into the specifics, like verbs of sensing.
Sensing, you mean like see, hear, smell.
Exactly. The lesson points out, quite rightly, that we generally don't use these in the present continuous.
Oh, so you wouldn't say, I am smelling gas.
Well, you could, but typically the standard form is simple present. I smell gas, even if it's happening right now. It's because they often describe a state, the ability to smell, rather than an action you're performing over time.
Okay, that makes sense. But then the lesson also shows the present continuous being used for future stuff.
Ah, yes, for future arrangements.
Yeah.
Especially like social plans you've already made.
Right.
The example, we're going to the cinema tonight, is perfectly normal English. It's a planned future event.
Okay, so continuous for future plans. But what about other future things?
Well, that's where the contrast comes in. The present simple is used for future events that are on a schedule or timetable.
Like transport or meetings.
Exactly. Trains, planes, classes, official meetings. So, saying the train is leaving at 7 a.m. would usually sound a bit odd. You'd say the train leaves at 7 a.m. because it's scheduled.
Got it. Simple for schedules, continuous for personal arrangements. That's a useful distinction.
It really is. Then there's another group of verbs, ones related to thinking or speaking, like promise, know, realize, remember, admit, state.
Okay, what about them?
Generally, again, not using the present continuous, you wouldn't typically say, I am knowing the answer.
Right, you'd say, I know the answer.
Exactly. Because knowing is usually seen as a state of mind, not an action that unfolds over time.
So this brings up that idea of action verbs versus state verbs.
Precisely. The lesson introduces that distinction. Action verbs are things you do, run, cook, play. They can often be simple or continuous. State verbs describe states being, knowing, loving, owning. They usually stick to the simple form.
Like be, know, love.
Mm-hmm. Those are classic state verbs. Now, the source does mention there are exceptions. We might touch on those.
Okay.
But as a general rule, it's really helpful. Action versus state.
Okay. What else in level 3?
One more key use for the present continuous, describing changing situations or trends.
Like for statistics or news?
Exactly. The example, unemployment is rising, is perfect. It described an ongoing process of change.
Yeah, you hear that kind of phrasing a lot.
You do. So yeah, level 3 packs in quite a bit. As the source suggests, might be worth reviewing if it feels like a lot of info at once.
Definitely. Okay, moving into level 4. This sounds even more nuanced, determining if both tenses are possible and what the meaning difference is.
Yes, this is where you really see the flexibility and the subtlety of English tenses.
This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
It does, because the choice can signal how you view the situation. Take the classic example. He lives in London versus he is living in London.
Right. Simple sounds permanent. Continuous sounds temporary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Lives suggests it's his permanent home, his established base. Is living implies it's maybe temporary. He's there for a course, a short-term job, something like that.
So the grammar reflects the speaker's perspective on the situation's permanence.
Precisely. It's about whether you're framing it as a stable fact or a more transient situation. And we see a similar thing with habits.
Habits. But isn't that usually present simple?
It is, for a neutral description. She goes to the gym on weekdays. Just states the routine.
Okay.
But if you use the present continuous with an adverb like always or constantly.
Like he is always interrupting me.
Exactly. That structure often carries a feeling of annoyance or maybe surprise at how often it happens. It highlights the frequency in a negative or noticeable way.
And the lesson stresses you need that adverb, right? Always or constantly.
Yes, that's key. You can't just say, he is interrupting me to mean it's an annoying habit.
Right.
You need the adverb to signal that specific meaning.
Got it. What about those thinking, feeling verbs again? I thought they were usually simple.
Mostly, yes. But sometimes the continuous can suggest a feeling or thought that's just developing or that you're still processing.
Oh, interesting. Like,
The example used realize. Saying, I am realizing he hasn't been honest, suggests that understanding is dawning on you right now. It's a process.
as opposed to, I realize he hasn't been honest, which sounds like you've already reached that conclusion.
Exactly. Simple is the established understanding. Continuous is the process of getting there.
Huh. Okay. And then the permanent versus temporary thing comes back with tennis.
Yeah. Another example, they play tennis on Saturdays, probably a regular long-term thing. They're playing tennis on Saturdays could suggest it's new, or just for this month perhaps. Again, subtle difference based on tense choice.
Right. And sometimes both are okay grammatically, but one just sounds better.
Yeah, that happens too. The example was, my English improves year after year, versus my English is improving year after year.
Both seem fine.
Grammatically, yes, but often for that kind of gradual change or development over time, the continuous is improving, feels a bit more natural. It links back to that idea from level 3 about describing changing situations.
Okay, I see the connection. Right, deep breath. Level 5 now, advanced and specialized uses. This sounds like the really niche stuff.
It is, yeah. Some less common, but interesting applications. For instance, using the present simple for live commentary.
Live commentary, like sports, but the action's happening now.
Exactly. Think football. He shoots. He scores. It's present simple, even though it's immediate. The theory is it gives this sense of instant report. Concise, almost timeless actions unfolding.
Wow, okay, I hadn't thought about why they do that. It feels more dramatic somehow.
It does, yeah. It's a stylistic thing for that punchy, immediate feel. Then, back to annoying habits for a sec.
Okay.
Remember we said present continuous with always for irritation?
Yeah, he's always late.
Right. But the lesson points out you generally can't do the same with never. You wouldn't usually say he's never helping.
Oh, right. You'd say he never helps. Back to simple present.
Exactly. It seems to be specific to those adverbs like always or constantly. Never doesn't usually work with a continuous for that meaning.
Interesting restriction. What else?
Using present tenses to tell a story informally, to make it more vivid.
Like when someone's telling an anecdote and they say, so I walk into the shop and this guy comes up to me, even though it happened yesterday.
Precisely. You shift the past tenses, past simple, past continuous, into their present counterparts, present simple, present continuous, to bring the listener right into the moment. Makes it more immediate, more engaging.
Yeah, it really does draw you in.
It's a common storytelling trick. Then there's newspaper headlines.
Headlines.
Yeah, they often use present simple to report recent past events, like government announces new policy.
Even though the announcement already happened.
Right. It's a stylistic convention for headlines, makes it feel current and concise. The source also noted other headline styles, like the capitalization and often no full stop.
Right, that punchy headline style.
Oh, one more. The last big one is verbs with multiple meanings, where one meaning is more action and another is more state.
The tricky ones, like have or think.
Exactly. The example used see. I see your point means I understand. Understand is a state, so simple present.
Okay.
But I'm seeing my friends tonight means I'm meeting. Meet is an action, so continuous is fine, especially for future arrangement.
So the tense depends entirely on which meaning of see you're using.
Absolutely. And the source mentioned have, think, expect, look as other common examples that work like this. Context is everything.
Wow. Okay, that really highlights how much meaning is packed into these tense choices.
It really does.
Well, that was quite a journey through present simple and present continuous, from the absolute basics up to some pretty specialized uses.
Yeah, and hopefully, by looking at the why behind the rules, not just the rules themselves, it helps you feel a bit more confident, maybe more precise when you're using them yourself.
Yeah, that logic really helps.
Ultimately, that choice between simple and continuous often comes down to focus. Are you emphasizing something stable, general, habitual? That's usually simple.
Right.
Or are you focusing on something temporary, ongoing, developing, happening right now, or even a future plan? That often points towards continuous.
Keeping that core difference in mind seems key.
I think so. It makes the specific rules feel less random and more intuitive over time.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Start noticing these tenses more. Think about how that little choice between, say, he works there and he's working there can completely change the picture you get. Whether it's in conversations you hear, news you read, stories people tell, pay attention to those nuances. It's amazing how much subtle meaning they carry.
That's a great point. And maybe reflect on which bits felt most challenging for you. Or think about other verbs that might have both state and action meanings, like we discussed with see or think. Exploring those can be a really good way to solidify your understanding.
Definitely. Well, thanks for diving deep into this with us today.
My pleasure. It's a fundamental part of English, but always interesting to revisit.